all over its body other than the face itself.
There are, in fact, 4 different types of, what we think of as Sasquatch or Bigfoot.
Very wide, pronounced nose. There was also a very ominous odor.
Phase 1 is to identify opportunities. I walked into a small clearing in less than 10-15 feet away from this enormous creature, and it scared the living hell out of me. Phase 2 is conducting investigations both of witnesses and locations. The size of the thing, it was 4 or 5 feet across the shoulders. Phase 3 is profiling research areas, what's there, how they move, feeding, things like that. About 8 feet tall, I guessed around 800 pounds. It was massive. I had no idea that anything like that existed. Phase 4 is create an intercept plan. I decided to shoot in the air to see if maybe it would scare it off. Phase 5 is the intercept and resolve the issue phase. It didn't do anything, it didn't react, and then I heard a noise from my right rear, and from out behind some brush come another one and walked over by the first one. That's when I decided to do what the dog did. I took off running. Welcome to Witness of the Unknown. Hello everyone. I've got a very interesting guest today. His good friend Wynn from the Flathead Nation in western Montana. Wynn, how you doing, buddy?
Not too bad. How about yourself?
I'm good. There's been quite a few things going on in your part of the country for some time now, and I guess people are always interested in hearing Native people's take on this whole subject. And it wasn't always that way, but I think people are a little smarter these days and want to listen to the folks that have been around a little bit longer than most people in the country. So, and a lot of people mistake what Native people, how they view the Sasquatch, I think. Wouldn't that be correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's more a lot of people think it's, the friendly big brother and all that stuff. And
no, that's not even close. A lot of people think, Bigfoot's a big brother to natives. That's,
not quite the picture, is it?
No, it's not. You're just a person.
Yeah, I know it's a little bit different for every location and group, but let me give us your take from your part of the country. What do your folks have to say in terms of their outlook about these things?
My parents, my dad seen one a long time ago in Minnesota somewhere. He never really liked talking about it, but he seen one. My mom, she's never seen one, but she seen a footprint when we were little.
Mm-hmm.
We were half picking, and me and my brother looked down, and we're like, whoa, it's a big foot, and my mom seen it, and she made us all get back in the truck really fast, and that's, only thing she ever knew about Bigfoot.
Yeah, so apparently she knew more than she was saying.
Oh, yeah, she heard all the stories and stuff about, Bigfoot and stuff when she was growing up.
Now, how do the tribal elders, view these things?
Everybody believes in them. We're just supposed to leave them alone.
Yeah. Well, I think that's probably pretty smart.
Yeah. We're not supposed to go out looking for them or, taunting them or just respect them. You leave them alone, we'll leave us alone.
Right.
But me, I must be one of the dumb ones because
you've had a little experience with them.
Yeah, I know where a family of them live, and
Well, let's talk about the first time you had an encounter with one.
Well, the first time I didn't know it was one until I seen this, my first, kind of second one.
Uh-huh. Well, what happened the first time? I mean, what were you doing, and kind of how did it lead into that?
Well, the first one I seen and didn't know what I've seen until, I seen one in daylight. But me and my cousin Dusty, we worked at a slaughterhouse. We had to do the cleanup when everybody was done, clean tables, get blood off everything, and we had this big old bin outside where the bones and fat and extra meat that wasn't good and went into this big old dumpster.
Mm-hmm.
And it's always been there, and we always parked in the back, not too far from that. I never paid, just I figured out this is where the thing was eaten that night after we seen it, after my cousin seen it. Anyway, we were leaving. We got down Fork Creek. We were leaving. We just got on to Terrace Lake Road, and we just started getting going. And this huge buck jumps and crosses the road in front of us. And me and my cousin were both big hunters, and we wanted to see that thing. So
yeah. We
noticed it jumped in the field and went across, and we knew there's a road behind there. So we went behind there and was looking. My buddy had this spotlight, or my cousin had the spotlight. And he was checking around, didn't see nothing on the left side that he was on. So we turned around, and we turned around and started looking on his side again, on his left again. And he just he pushes the brake, and his truck is a manual. He steps on the brake and it kills the truck. And I'm like, what are you doing? I'm trying to look what he's looking at, and I kind of lean forward. And I could just see past his face a little bit, and I see these two huge red eyes, put up in this tree. And I'm like, "What is that? That can't be no owl.
Right.
That thing's way up the tree." And he freaks out, and drops the spotlight because it plugs into the ashtray. It's dangling on the door, outside of the door, and he starts the truck and puts it in first, and we're just hauling Bud out of there in first gear, and I could hear his truck just, ramping out hard, like, man, you got a shifter, you're gonna blow your truck up. And he's just screaming, sucked up to the wheel. I'm like, what is going on? And it took him quite a few years to tell me what he's seen. And after I seen mine, then I started doing some digging and stuff, and I found out their eyes glow red, and
sure.
That hit me. He's like, that's exactly what he's seen. So I called and was like, hey, you need to tell me what you've seen, and stop beating around the bush.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I don't know what I seen. All I know, it was tall, big, and hairy. And I was like, well, how? And he's like, it was standing next to the tree, peeking around it. He's like, I could see its shoulder, its head, and part of its leg.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, you seen Bigfoot. He's like, I don't know. And then, well, that's what I'm seeing.
Right.
And, a few years after that, I don't know how many years it was. This has been quite a while ago. I was deer hunting up here, and it's called North Girl Canyon. And there's always big bucks running up around there. You just got to catch them.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of an open spot. When you first get in there, halfway through it's open, and you catch monster bucks running through there sometimes. But I didn't see anything going through that clear cut. Then you get to the tree line, and this tree is all the way back. It's only a mile long, and the rest, when you get to the end, it's a trail. You walk up, you can go pretty far. But about halfway through there, I was coming around this corner, and I remember just watching the road because I remember there was a big rock somewhere that he had to kind of squeeze by. But out of the corner of my left eye, I just caught something, moving.
Mm-hmm.
And I just, kind of looked over, and there I was, just standing 15 feet off the road. Big, huge guy. when I looked over, he had his hand, like, he had his hand around this tree. Had to been 8 centimeters around tree.
Good Lord.
He had his hand on that, and his other arm dangling, like, kind of to his knee, and just, like, kind of startled look.
Yeah.
And, watch me go by. And as soon as I seen it, and I was going to look up towards his face, I remembered, listening to other Indians, never look him in the eyes because it means death or something.
Right. I've heard that too.
Yeah, it popped in my head, and I just stared at his chest and, kind of make my way down, and I got out of view of it, and, like, right after I couldn't see it anymore, like, it felt like all my food went all out with my feet. I don't know if you understand. Like, it felt like I got flushed.
Oh yeah.
I even looked on the floor to see if all my food was on the floor of my truck.
Right. Right.
It felt like someone flushed my all my food out of me.
Good Lord.
And what made it worse is I only had like maybe a quarter mile to go, and it's a dead end.
Oh man.
You can't go anywhere else.
So you were going into the area?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you have to turn around once you get up there. Well, I get up there and I turn, and I'm, face towards the road where I got to go back down where I just seen this thing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, I don't want to go back down. And, almost about ready to cry because I don't know. I'm this whole time envisioning this thing just throwing a big rock or a big log through my truck.
Yeah.
And this road, it's kind of windy, and it's got little cliffs on the side. They're about 12-foot drop or more. And I just put it in drive, and I floored it, and I had to been doing at least 50, 60 out of there.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole time, I imagined this thing just throwing a big old rock or something at me.
Sure.
And when I come up to that spot, instantly my body turned cold. I mean, it wasn't standing there anymore, but I flew by there, and I got back down to where, people live and stuff, and I got to the end of the road where I can turn to get back on the highway.
Yeah.
I stopped there, put it in park, and just sitting there like, did I really just see what I seen? I almost felt sick the rest of the day. Like,
right.
It's something I never experienced, and I don't ever want to experience it again, but I being stupid and doing it.
It's a pretty traumatic experience.
Yeah. I mean, once you get them in, once you see one, you can't stop. You feel like you have to see more of them.
Yeah, I think there's kind of a mixed feeling. You sort of dread doing it, but you kind of get pulled to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, not too many people think, they're up here in Montana, but I know where there's a bunch of them. I mean, me and my cousins are into, ever since I've seen that one, I look around more and I listen to more things,
Mm-hmm.
Like, me and my cousin, I swear to God, we heard two of them fighting. Like,
really? What kind of?
Yeah.
How would it sound like?
It just sounded like two huge, imagine two huge gorillas just going at it, screaming and growling, and we were up cutting wood, and they were, I don't know, a good half mile downhill, and it sounded like a herd of elephants running through the trees.
Wow.
You can hear stuff snapping and breaking, and me and my cousin were just sitting there looking at each other like, should we finish this or go home?
Yeah, I hear you there. I think I'd have to think twice about sticking around too,
Yeah, it literally sounded like, it just felt like they were right there too.
Yeah. How long ago do you think that was?
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Do you remember what time of year it was?
It was. let's say almost November.
Okay, so it was in the fall.
Yes, no, yeah, we went up to cut wood and we were cutting in snow. I remember that.
Okay.
Because it was the first snow, and we wanted to feel snow, I guess. So we just went up in snow and cut wood.
Yeah.
It's easier to spot dead trees when it's snowing, I guess.
Yeah. There was an interesting story that I can't remember if you told me or I heard it and we talked about it once. There was an older gentleman that was actually grabbed and taken off his front porch by one of these things.
Oh, yeah.
You want to talk about that?
Yeah, that was, I was reading online. It was in the 70s.
Okay.
The town was called, they called it Indian Town. It was in Mission, St. Ignatius. Only like 10, 15 miles from where I live.
Okay.
You know, just down the highway.
Yeah.
Well, I was reading that story. These Indians were having trouble with this thing, you know. It kept taking stuff off their porch or stealing its dog's dog food, or, you know, just always messing with them.
Mm-hmm.
And so the guy, you know, got tired of it. You know, started taking shots at him when he'd see him, and, you know, yelling at him, you know, just trying to keep him away. Like, they knew they were there, nothing they can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, he'd shoot at him, you know, throw stuff, or, you know, it's just making this thing mad. And one night he was sitting on the porch, and he got, I'm trying to remember exactly how it went. It was a while ago when I read it.
Yeah.
He was sitting on his porch with one of his kid or grandkids, and he just got ripped off the porch by it, and it drug him out into the trees and stuff, into the wood. And the wife, but anyway, they waited a day before they even went to look for him, and they got, you know, a few guys together and stuff, and got guns and went and looked for him. And that, like, I guess that morning when they found him, he was just beat to mush, I guess. But he was still alive when they found him. Good Lord. But he beat up so bad, like, they're saying on there they tried to move him, but they'd go to move him, and they just felt like he was mushy. Like, every time they'd move him, scream.
A lot of broken bones and things.
Yeah. And they took him to the hospital, and he died in the hospital.
Good Lord.
So, you know, they heard that he died in the hospital. So all those men, they got a few more men, they went after it, and they shot it. They're saying they shot it at least 10 to 15 times. They know they did.
Yeah.
But they could never find it, you know.
So they don't know if it died or not.
Yeah, they said there was a lot of blood around, but they could never find it. But it never came back, though, either.
Wow.
Yeah, I looked for a while to see if I could find that in, like, a paper or something, but I couldn't find it.
Now, you had a chunk of wood thrown at your truck not long ago.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. I think I'd be a little unnerved by that. I have the picture you sent.
Yeah. Well, that family, Bigfoot that I always went up and messed with, I think I might have made him mad that night.
What? Tell me what happened. How did it start out that evening?
Well, I went up to where they usually cross over to get on. I know where their trail is and where they go and all of that. So I was sitting in the middle of their trail, and me and this girl, she didn't believe anything of it. So I said, "Well, come with me, and I'll prove it to you." And so we were sitting on their trail, and I could hear something behind my truck. It sounded like it was underneath of it. I was like, "Man, there's got to be one underneath of it." And now I'm starting to get scared. Like, man, what if he just jumps up and drags me out? So we were sitting there, and I had my window cracked, you know, about 4 inches, and I grabbed my pistol and I just shot in the ground once. and didn't hear anything after that. Then it just started, like, you could hear branches snapping everywhere and stuff. I'm like, all right, they're getting too close. So I started the truck and backing out, and I was just pulling forward, and I hear boom. And she looks at me, and I was like, yeah, we're going. And the next day I went up there, and there's just no, somebody cut a tree and left a piece of the log still there.
Uh-huh.
It's about, I don't know, 6-7 inches, around. Yeah, it was that one. It was about 2.5 feet long.
Mm-hmm.
But it was sitting on the road right where I was turning around. But yeah, it gave my truck a pretty good dent.
Yeah, that's kind of the signal to leave, I think.
Yeah, when you start hearing them all over, then it's time to go.
So, what kind of activity have you had up in that area?
A lot. Like, honestly, I could have shot one night, but I couldn't do it.
Yeah? What stopped you from doing it?
Just them killing me.
Yeah.
Because this one didn't know I could see it. Like, I found another group of 3, and they're out there. They live, like, by the highway.
Mm-hmm.
Or they live, like, right by the highway. How I found out they were there, I was bugling, trying to find elk there. And I was bugling stuff, didn't hear nothing, so I started cow calling. And out of nowhere, this loud cow call come from behind me. And me and my cousin were like, that's not a cow call. I was like, I know. So I did it again, and It was just, it sounded like a cow call, but it was just too loud. Way too loud.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I know what that's going. So we were sitting around a little bit, and kept call calling, and he wouldn't answer back. So my cousin's like, watch this, and he hooted like an owl. And you get this little sound, whoop, like, I don't know, you can tell it wasn't an owl.
Sure.
It was one hoot, and it was in the same spot that cow call was coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I said, let's get out of here so we can find some more elk, because, when I'm elk hunting, I don't care to mess with them. I'm looking for elk, not big feet.
Sure, right.
And I know they're around that area all over anyway, but...
Yeah, you don't want them messing with your hunt.
No. Oh, they messed up quite a few of my hunts. For a while there, I was blaming it on wolves, but now I knew what they were.
Mm-hmm.
But
how'd they mess up your hunts?
Just coming in.
Yeah.
Like I'll have a bull, bugling back at me coming in, and all of a sudden it just goes quiet. Mm-hmm. Then you see the elk running off, like. And I blamed it on wolves for a long time.
Yeah.
We were calling elk that night. It was at night, and it was full moon. And we were bugling. We had 2 of them bugling coming across the river. And my cousin was watching over there with binoculars. And before all that, they were bugling pretty good, and they shut up again, stopped calling. I'm like, what the heck, And my cousin was looking over on the other side with binoculars, and he's like, "There's a guy over there walking." And I was like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Yeah, there's a guy walking over there." So I grabbed the binoculars, and I couldn't see him. And I was like, "Are you sure?" He goes, "Yeah, I swear, there's a guy over there walking." And I was like, "How far away?" And he's trying to show me. I couldn't see anything, but... Mm-hmm. And he was like, "Was he big?" And he goes, "Yeah, you look pretty big." And I was like, "Yeah, now I know what it is."
Yeah.
It was, because there wouldn't be a guy over there. There's nothing over there.
Sure.
And, there's nothing over there from, how would he get over there? Unless you swam across.
Right,
but
pretty unlikely.
I figured it out. Yeah. then, yeah, I figured it out from there. But then, a couple days, a week or so after that, my little brother and my little brother and my sister and her boyfriend were hunting up on the side where I know where that group of fives hang out. And my little brother and them ran into a herd of elk, and they said when they came up on them, they were just, they were weird. They were just like running everywhere. And they just figured, they feared them.
Yeah.
So my little brother jumps out, shoots one, and they start walking down the road to go, drag it down and start gutting it out and stuff. And my little sister drives the truck towards them and parks. And my little brother and her boyfriend were starting to gut it out. And this rock, about basketball size, comes flying and lands on the road.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and right between the truck and them. And I guess my little brother and my sister's boyfriend jumped up and looked at each other and looked up to where it came from.
Mm-hmm.
And my little sister's like, that rock didn't roll down, guys. And they're like, what do you mean? She goes, it didn't roll down, it come flying out of the trees. It was thrown. And my little sister, she was pregnant at the time, and she's getting sick because, she knew what it was. She had an idea.
Sure.
Yeah, so they were trying to get it gutted out and, hurry up and get it out of there. And they could hear noise up, and they could hear, stuff up there, trees snapping and, twigs getting broke. So they knew they ran into one, or I don't know how many was up there, but, my little brother wasn't going to give the elk to him, so he's a pretty stubborn guy.
Sure.
But,
kind of sounds like maybe they interrupted the Sasquatch's hunt.
Yeah, I told him, you guys interrupted their hunt, and I was like, you guys are lucky you didn't go any worse than that. I was like, they couldn't, that rock could have landed on you.
Right, absolutely.
If they wanted to hurt you, they could have.
That was a warning shot, trying to warn them off.
Yeah, like he was, they were trying to get you away from that elk.
Yeah, right.
And my little brother's like, that's my first bull. Ain't nobody getting it. Anyway, my sister's boyfriend stood there with a gun, pointing towards the tree line where they could hear something up there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, my brother finished gutting it out, and then when they were loading it, my little sister was, had the gun pointed up there, And that's all that happened to them. But that night I could have shot one was in that same area where I told you by the highway.
Yeah, right.
I went back down there a week or some, I don't know, a week or two after that, after the elk were done, bugling. So I went and sat down by the road where this pull off is. It's like there's a gravel pit, then there's trees, and there's a gravel pit. And I was sitting on the edge there, and I could hear stuff behind me in the trees behind me, and I was just by myself, and I could see something moving up on the road. It was a good moonlight. Mm-hmm. You could see, and I had my binoculars out there, and it looked like a bear at first. It looked all hunched over, or all, like a bear would, how they walk and their backs kind of up.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It looked like a bear at first. And then it just flattens out, just I don't know how to explain it. It looked like it just dove and did a belly flop or something.
Right.
I was like,
it could just
that was weird.
Just kind of stretched out on its belly.
What he was doing was trying to crawl across the highway. He came up. He was army crawling to the highway, and I was sitting there watching.
Right.
And then I grabbed my gun, and I'm gonna shoot this thing. I kept man, how am I gonna shoot it? I don't want it to die on the road. And
Yeah,
somebody
exactly.
hit it, and then then they know I shot one, and it's going to be a big mess.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I'm sitting there watching, and I got my gun, and I got the crosshairs right on his head, and he's just like inching his way up towards the highway, and I load it, and I'm like, all right. Then I started like shaking and breathing hard,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, man, if I shoot this thing, I was like, how many more are going to be on me?
Exactly. You said there were at least 3 of them there, right?
Yeah, there was some behind me, and I swore I seen another one, in the tree line behind this other one that's on the ground,
Uh-huh.
army crawling towards that, because he was looking at me the whole time.
Yeah, they
He
can
was,
see you, sure.
staring towards my truck. He
Right.
was staring to my truck the whole time. And I got my crosshairs right on his head. Sometimes I could see him, sometimes I couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like sometimes the clouds would come over, and I could still make out his body and stuff.
Right.
Because he wasn't that flat on the ground. Like I don't know if he thought he was a thin piece of paper or something, but I'm just like, man, okay. And just squeezing the trigger, and like, no, I'm not doing this. And I am not dying right here.
Sure, it could have ended up in a bad situation.
Yeah, 'cause I remember you telling me, like, a while back, like, if you see one, there's more. The ones you see are the ones you can't see, or, I don't know, all that stuff popped in my head, and I
Right.
just kept thinking, man, if I shoot this, I can prove to everybody, that they're real.
Providing you get out of there.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And then I was like, man, my grandma's going to beat me up.
Telling you to leave them alone so you go out and shoot one.
Yeah, I don't tell her anything anymore because she gets mad when
Uh-oh.
she knows I'm out there messing with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're so vindictive, though. Like, they don't get even. They get,
Get more than even.
yeah. You can see it. You can see it in their, like, in their face expressions. Like, they're evil.
Yeah. I've heard that quite
Yeah.
a bit, actually. Do you have any examples? Are there any examples that you can think of from around there that, where they've done things like that? The real vindictive behavior?
Just throwing stuff at my truck.
Oh, well, yeah, that's not a very nice thing to be doing, that's for sure.
Mhm. And, a few years back, before all this, I seen the one up North Carol Canyon. We were up hunting that boulder that's down towards the lake here. And me and my cousin were hunting up there. And this stick slapped the truck,
Mm-hmm.
And for some reason, like, I just felt like, we didn't run that stick over and it hit the truck.
Right.
Sometimes it happens,
Oh, yeah.
You run over a stick and it pops up, and,
Yeah.
me and my cousin was like, well, he didn't really think anything of it. He was, oh, whatever. But I seen that stick hit the truck sideways. And this was a long time ago. Had been like 7, 8 years ago. But that's always stuck in my head too, like, because it was dark out. It was actually pitch black when you're coming out. Because when you hit the taillights, when I seen that stick, hit the truck.
Yeah.
And we weren't going very fast, and that always stuck in my head for some reason. Like, that stick the tire didn't make that stick do that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I had a situation happen like that a few years back here in Northern California. I was up checking out an area with a witness, and we drove around the perimeter of the area where he had his sighting, and it was really odd. It was way out in the middle of nowhere, and we were driving along this road, and there weren't any sticks on the road. It was a paved road. So there weren't any sticks to drive over, and the only thing I remember was we were watching the tree line and talking about the area, and we saw this wild turkey right alongside the road. And not 2 seconds after we went past the wild turkey, a stick come flying out of the timber and hit the truck. Hit it pretty hard. And, I can't say that it was a Sasquatch that did it, but I'm thinking, well, there were no people up there because of the location. It was so remote. And I'm thinking the truck didn't hit anything. There was nothing on the road. It was pavement. So, and nothing fell out of a tree. It came horizontal. So, you kind of, pretty soon you run out of options, you know what I mean, of things it could be.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. Like when you hit the brake light and I seen that, it was a pretty long stick, about 6-7 feet, long, but it was pretty skinny.
Yeah.
It hit the truck too hard and too straight to have the tire.
Right. Absolutely.
If you pick it up and slash the truck. It's usually straight up and down.
Yeah, especially if you're used to driving out in the forest and you run over things. After a while, you get to be pretty familiar with how things react. So you know what is supposed to be and what isn't supposed to be happening.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah, that always stuck with me, for a long time. And I don't know why I did. It just wasn't right to me.
Yeah, you ever wonder, if it was one throwing a stick at you, why it would have done it? I mean... I always think to myself, okay, if this happened, how come it happened?
We did have an elk and a white-tailed buck in the back of our truck.
Oh, well, there you go. It could be a little, telling you a little message saying, hey, I want that.
Right.
You sent me a picture not long ago of a juvenile track. What's the story behind that?
Oh, that was up McDonald Lake. Yeah, a lot of people go up there. It's like a tourist spot. Me, my brother, my 2 brothers, and our kids, we were just up squirrel hunting. Just driving around, having fun with the kids, letting them shoot squirrels and stuff. And as crazy as that day, we were going up there. It's just like the best spot for squirrels, Squirrels everywhere up there, and we were going up there. We didn't see it on the way up, but when we got up there, we noticed this guy from Texas was camping there. And we're like, whoa, man, not many people camp up here unless they're from here, because there's a lot of bears up here.
Sure.
So, I was driving, so I told my brother, let's go talk to this guy and make sure, he knows what he's doing. I don't want this guy being on the news eating.
Yeah, no kidding.
And we went and talked to him and, hey, man, how you doing and all that. And I was like, there's a lot of grizzly bears and stuff around here, right? And he kind of looked at us real funny. Yeah, I grew up around here about 12 years ago, and, I had this real Texan accent and all that. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, he talked to him for a while. He was an awesome guy.
Yeah.
Good guy. And he had this little dog with him, like a little, I don't know what it was. Just a little tiny, not real tiny, but, I don't know, 15, 20-pound dog.
Sure.
And we talked to him for a while, and we were heading out, and we started going back down, and my younger brother had to go to the bathroom, so he stopped. And as soon as he gets out, he's like, "Whoa!" And me and my other brother were like, "What? You check this out?" And I got out, and my brother got out, and yeah, there was a footprint right there where he just stepped. Like, he's like, "Is that a footprint?" And I walked over, like, "Yeah, it's a footprint."
Wow.
And,
yeah, it looked pretty good in the picture.
And he goes, "Just my little brother, like, yeah, it's just probably somebody up here." Because there's a lot of people up there. And I was like, "No, look at it. Look how deep that is." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Look." It's like, look how deep it's in the ground. Like, look, that's a lot of weight. And humans couldn't do that.
For the size,
yeah.
It was only a few inches long, right?
Yeah, it was only maybe like 4, maybe 6 feet about 6 inches long.
Yeah, I know.
About
You had your hand
4
next to
inches
it.
wide.
Yeah, you had your hand next
Yeah.
to it. I'm thinking, wow, that's pretty small.
Yeah. You know, the only reason you could tell is because of how wide it was.
Right.
You can only make out about only one. I think the pinky toe you can only make out.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember, but we were sitting there looking at that, and that guy, that Texan guy, we could hear a vehicle, just flooring and hauling butt out of there.
Wow.
And he comes flying up, stops right in front of us, like, slides and stops right beside us, and he's holding his dog. And he's like, "You guys must be, what do you say? Angels sent from above or something." But his dog just got bit by a bear, like,
Oh.
not even 5 minutes after we left.
Wow. And then here you find this footprint.
Yeah. And that, his dog got bit by a female grizzly that, like, 5 minutes after we left.
Wow.
And the guy, he went running towards us because the bear had the dog in his mouth, her mouth,
Yeah.
like, throwing it around. And that guy went running towards her, to
Good
save
Lord.
his dog. And she took a swipe at him, caught his pants a little bit. But he managed to
didn't
grab his
kill
dog, and, yeah. And he comes flying up next to us, and he's like, "You guys must be," I can't remember what he said, was like, for warning him and stuff. And he left all his stuff there, and he asked where the nearest vet was so he can go get his dog patched up.
Wow.
That, yeah, that's what went on that day.
Do you ever
Yeah.
wonder if it was a Sasquatch instead of a bear that got the dog?
No, it was a bear. He seen it.
Okay. Do you ever hear
Yeah,
stories around there of interactions between the Sasquatch and grizzlies?
No. I know a lot of grizzlies around here, when they see a human, they don't stick around very long.
They take off. Yeah, there's some big
Yeah.
black bears up here. They're the same way. They're pretty spooky.
Our black bears here, though, they're more, they're a little bit more braver than the grizzly bears around here.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they come into town. When we were living in Dixon with my dad, I've walked right past one before.
Wow.
Look back, you get that feeling like, what the heck is going on? And I look back, and there's a damn bear eating apples right where I just walked.
Good grief. That's
Yeah.
a little disconcerting, huh?
Oh, I used to chase him by foot.
There's an area up north here where one of my favorite areas I go to, and there's just a ton of, and they're really big black bears. They're on average, 350, 400 pounds. And I see them all the time, every time I go up there. And they always, just take off as soon as they see a person.
Yeah. I don't know, our black bears are pretty comfortable with people. Because around here, nobody shoots them.
Well, and that's a growing problem. See, I think a lot of animals are like that now. You know how it used to be everywhere people would shoot at just about anything, and these days it doesn't happen so much. So animals don't really have much of a reason to be afraid of people.
Yeah, well, being an Indian growing up, we're not supposed to shoot them. We were just always told when we were younger, Indians don't shoot bears.
Is that right?
Yeah. That's what I was told. Because there's never been a record of a Native American being attacked by a bear ever.
Yeah.
And they're supposed to be brothers to us.
Okay. Well, that makes sense if they don't attack. I mean,
yeah, I've honestly never had a problem with a bear ever.
yeah, I can't say that I have either. I as a kid, of course, there were beehives that the bear was interested in, but when I was 9 or 10, I'm just pretty close to being face to face with a black bear. It was coming up a trail out of a swamp that we had back near the river on our property, and I was maybe 5 feet from it, and I just yelled, "Bear, run!" and my sisters took off. But there were a bunch of beehives a friend of my dad's had there, and the bear tore the beehives up, wanted the honey. Didn't want little kids, thankfully.
Well, when we lived with my dad in Dixon, we lived right next to the river, like 200-300 yards away from the river. And it was in a lot of parts where, like thick, I don't know, thick, like, those like leafy trees, skinny leafy trees.
Yeah.
Like really, really thick, and there's always bears in there.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost every night we'd be chasing a bear out of our yard. Good
grief.
Yeah. We used to see how close we could get to them.
I was interested, this area up here that I was telling you about, I think the bears are so spooky because there's a real history of Sasquatch activity in that area, and I think anything that even looks, like, well, because Sasquatches generally resemble us in terms of standing upright and all that, and I almost wonder if sometimes that isn't what's really going on, because they seem to be terrified. And I grew up in Washington State, and the bears weren't quite as spooky in the areas where I used to hike and hunt and everything. But down here, they seem like they're scared to death. I mean, if you're upright walking on two legs, they'll about practically break their necks to get away from you. And
right.
I kind of wonder if that isn't what's going on in that case.
Yeah. Well, I know there's a lot of deer, like in the Ronan area, there's deer in town. Like, they live in town.
Yeah.
They don't want nothing to do with, like, up in the woods. And that's, like, even the farmers are begging people to come shoot the deer in their property.
Really? Wow.
Because they won't leave. I don't know how many farmers I've helped out.
Any thoughts on that? I mean, why they hang around like that, or?
I got a few ideas. Because it's right along the Mission Mountains, and that's a lot of mountain to cover.
Oh yeah, a big country.
If you ever come up this way, I don't know if you've ever been here, but our Mission Mountains are huge.
I've been through Montana a few times. And I definitely want to come and visit you.
Yeah, I can show you some spots that are pretty good.
So
Oh,
go ahead.
It's mostly from, like, we're only like 2 hours away from Spokane, Idaho.
Yeah, you're close.
And yeah, and they're mostly, down, like, towards the west, like, down in Dixon and, down towards St. Regis, and, they're in those areas.
Yeah.
But they're moving more this way, though. They're starting to come farther.
Yeah, it's probably got to be food driven, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a lot of animals on this reservation.
Yeah, you guys have a really nice area when it comes to wildlife. That's beautiful country too.
Yeah. A lot of people think about Montana. They think that just it's flat.
Well,
it's not.
Yeah, right. They think about the eastern part, with the plains.
Yeah, and where we live, we have mountains everywhere.
Oh, that's some really rugged country.
Oh yeah.
Well, you've been doing some nosing around that area. Have you heard many accounts, people have had with these things?
A lot of people are tight-lipped around here.
They don't talk much about it, huh?
No. Just one lady, I don't know if I believed her or not. She just, I don't know, I didn't know who she was and stuff, and I mentioned something about Bigfoot, and she told me a story where her and her dad used to have a little ranch up in St. Ignatius Mission, the same spot where that guy got drug off his porch.
Yeah.
Her and her dad were horseback riding up in the missions, and they came to this spot where you couldn't take your horses anymore because there was rock shale, and they were going up to this little hidden lake up there. And where they tied their horses down was a flat spot. She said this happened in the 80s, early 90s.
Mm-hmm.
But when they came back down, they couldn't find their horses. So they started walking the trail down, and they said maybe 200 yards from where they tied up their horses were tied up in trees.
Tied up in trees?
One was tied upside down, and the other one was hanging by its back legs.
Oh, now that's interesting.
Yeah, still alive. They weren't dead.
Wow.
Yeah, she said they looked like they seen a ghost.
Well, think of the strength it would take to pick a horse up and tie it up in a tree, especially upside down.
Yeah, it's just the one thing that gets me is how do they not hear it? I mean, the horse is gonna, scream, kick, do whatever they can to get away from something like that.
Sure, absolutely.
But I don't know how far they were though. It's just she just told it to me like it was something that happened every day, like like she had no expressions or nothing about it.
Yeah, that's unusual. You'd think a story like that would really spook somebody.
Yeah, and she just told her me and my dad, we went up there and did some fishing and stuff. Come back and our horses were hanging upside down. And it was just like that. I'm like, okay, anything else? And when you tell someone a story, you want to try to get into it.
Yeah, right.
And one was hung up by its saddle, the horn, and the stirrups, or whatever, was hung up kind of upside down. She said one of them was bleeding from the nose. It's been there so long.
Mm-hmm.
And the other one, it wasn't all the way hung up. Like it was strung up by its feet, but its neck was still on the ground.
That's weird, huh?
Yeah, I was at the casino, and I think there was a game they just put on, or something. Sasquatch came up, and then she told me that story.
Wow.
Yeah.
I showed you the pictures of we got from the Adirondack Mountains, didn't I, with the deer hanging from the tree?
Yeah.
And that was something I checked a couple different sources that I have, and they said absolutely they do that. Not a lot, but sometimes they'll do that. They'll hang a kill up in a tree, and as baiting other animals to come in, sort of kind of expanding their diet access there.
Yeah, see, I don't know what else would come after, like coyote or a wolf or something, but it seems to me more like they're marking their territory.
Yeah, it could be. I mean, there's nothing else that's going to hang a 150, 200-pound deer 11 feet up in a tree. Cats don't do it typically, so at least not in this part of the country.
Yeah. Yeah, I just heard about they found something like that up in Missoula.
Really?
You can, where I don't know if you know where the M is. That stands for Missoula up there on the mountain. Anyway, there's a trail. There's a trail that goes past that, and I guess sort of on top there was a carcass or rib cage and a deer head, and stuff or hung up way up high in the tree.
Oh, now that's interesting.
10 feet up in the tree.
Yeah. How long ago was this?
Oh man, maybe. I can't remember if I read it on Facebook or if it was on the news.
Oh, that's interesting.
But they had to do with the Bigfoot researcher though.
Okay.
Because down by the Missoula area, I've been hearing there's quite a bit of them.
Wow, that's pretty interesting. It's something we just kind of found out about, and I've been sort of keeping my ears open, for any people finding stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah. If I remember right, I think it was a researcher out of Missoula that found that.
I wonder if that's one of our people. We've got a couple people in that area.
Oh, really? But yeah, there was a skull of a head, and I think like a pelvis or something maybe.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I remember that. That wasn't too long ago, like a few months ago.
Wow. Well, that's interesting.
Yeah, you just have to come down here like for a day or two, and I'll show you
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
I know the trailer, like their tree breaks. Like
Actually,
2 years ago,
oh, go ahead. Go
what's
ahead. Yeah.
up?
Yeah. No, go
Two
ahead.
years ago, 2 years ago, when I was up at my favorite hunting elk spot, I noticed this tree, like this, I don't know what kind of trees they are. Those little trees with the leaves all over them. They're real skinny, and sometimes they get tall.
Like maybe alders
But
or cottonwoods or something like that.
they're more like a bush tree. Like
Okay. Okay.
they're just really, then they just grow all over into a big old bunch, and
Yeah.
I don't know
Right.
what, but
Yeah, I'm not sure
yeah,
what those are called offhand either.
yeah. That's how I figured out they were in this area. I was elk hunting, and I was going by this bush, and I kind of looked up top of it, and I noticed a bunch of them. Like a lot of them were broke off at the tip.
Yeah.
At the very top. Just I'm like, what the heck would have done that? And then it popped in my head, and okay, now I know. So I started looking around more, and then I started seeing more breaks.
Yeah.
So I started, they would cross the road every, like, all right, there's another break here, and I'd go up the road a little more, there'd be another break. But I noticed there was a little one with them. It had to have been.
Yeah.
Because every break that I'd see on a little pine tree or something, about a 5 foot, 6 foot little pine tree, it'd be snapped over too.
Oh, no,
And
that's
twist-
interesting. And twisted,
And
right?
there must have been a little guy doing what his dad was doing or something.
Yeah, probably
Or-
teaching him how to do it, maybe.
Yeah. But after that, I noticed, every little tree, big tree break I've seen, there was a little one too.
Do your elders ever talk about? I mean, it's probably like you said, maybe not talk a lot, but did they ever talk about things like that, markings, ways to know when they're in an area?
Oh yeah.
What did they
Yeah.
have to say about that? I mean, if you're willing to talk about that.
They knew what they were. Like back in when my grandma, I didn't know her too long. I was little when she passed away, but
Mm-hmm.
she was a wild Indian. Like she was
Sure.
born in Kentucky and all that, and her father and her so on down the road. You couldn't go outside the camp at night.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're always told, you go outside of the camp or outside of the light of the fire, eco will get you.
Yeah. Right.
And they are a shadow man, and they had no problem eating Indian kids.
That's what I hear many, many times over.
Yeah, like they're not the protectors of Native Americans like people think. Yeah, they like living on reservations. I do not know why.
Well,
But
maybe because they're not bothered as much, say elsewhere.
yeah,
Although,
that's just
I've heard some things in different reservations. But here's the thing. I was going to say, on part of the Yakima Reservation, on the western portion, there's been a lot of bad behavior. We'll put it over there, with equipment being destroyed pretty regularly. However, I think it's Weyerhaeuser equipment. It's not Indian, folks being involved in it. I think it's Weyerhaeuser coming in and setting stuff up, and these things are coming in there pretty regular, tearing the equipment up.
yeah.
So I could see
Well,
that, they're encroaching on hunting areas and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, around here when strange stuff happens, people really don't say nothing.
They just kind of turn a
People
blind
are
eye
just-
to it.
Yeah, like it took me 3 years to tell, my story.
Yeah.
Like one day I was like, I don't even care. Like I need to get this out. It's bugging me.
Well, and that's the way it is. I mean, with myself, I mean, I was lucky, that I met the people that I did, because I would have kept it bottled up for a long time too. But it bugs you if you can't talk about it.
Yeah.
It's sort of like you need to get it off your shoulders so you can move forward.
Yeah, and so it just, I don't know, what's the sense of knowing something if you can't tell somebody?
Yeah, exactly.
What really makes you mad is when someone looks at you like, were you drunk or high or something?
And they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah, that really makes me mad. It's like, I just had no one to tell, and I just didn't want to, tell somebody, hey, this is what I seen, and my brother, he still doesn't believe, like, I don't know, he's like a half in, half out, like,
yeah.
I've taken him places where, you hear some stuff, like, it make your skin crawl, but I got to see one to believe one, and if I see it, I'm shooting it. I was like, if you shoot it, I'm leaving you here.
Well, maybe he really doesn't want to know. You know what I mean? Some people just kind of, it just is too much for them, and they don't want to face it.
Yeah, well, his whole thing is, man, if we shoot one, we'll be millionaires. No, we won't. We shoot one, we'll probably be locked up somewhere.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I think it's very different than what most people think would happen.
Because I did a lot of research and stuff. People that actually seen them and have proof. What is their proof never comes up.
Yeah, I was going to tell you, there was another native fellow who's a friend of mine up in Alberta. In fact, he joined us recently. I don't know if you heard Chris talk about on the show, but he told me there was a story recently up in his part of the country that I think one was killed, and the whole thing, I think the tribal members in that area just covered the whole thing up. They didn't let anything out. It was actually filmed and everything. Maybe that's what it was. It was filmed and it wasn't killed or something. I'd have to go back and look at the details of what he told me, but he's looking into it. But it's pretty interesting that nobody wanted to talk about it. It was just covered up, the whole situation.
See, that's how it would be around here.
Yeah.
Like, I killed one. Like, my tribe would come after me and be like, hey, you're going to bury this thing and you're going to shut your lips.
Yeah, I think that would happen in a lot of places, to be honest.
Yeah, like, I don't know. I always thought if I shot one, it wouldn't be same. Like, there'd be so many Native Indian people that'd be, so pissed off at me.
Yeah.
They exist. Why would you do that? Like,
yeah, true. Oh, but I see what it was. I was sorry, I was just looking at his text. It was in Oklahoma, and there was some kind of it was a video that showed a Bigfoot at dusk rummaging through industrial garbage bins or something like that, and the whole thing was shut down, and it was on a reservation. So
yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Yeah,
they wouldn't let the videos out and stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean,
yeah, there was more than one. There was like 3 or 4 of them.
Something like that. Yeah, I remember hearing something about it, but there wasn't a lot of information that was put out.
Yeah, they didn't want a bunch of researchers and stuff over there, so they were...
Well, can't blame them for that, Well, listen, we're just about out of time. Any final thoughts? Anything you want to say, tell people?
If you think you want to see one, you don't want to.
Yeah.
It changes your life.
It does.
Like, it changes your life pretty bad. And like, I don't go hunting, and like, before I seen one, I used to go hunting and sleep out in the woods or sleep in my truck.
Yeah.
If I got on an elk and I didn't get him that day, I'd sleep in the woods or in my truck until next morning.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
When it's dark, I get out of the woods.
I remember reading in one of John Green's books years ago as a teenager that, after I had my first encounter, I read his books, and there was a story in there, or it wasn't a story, it was information, and I can't remember what tribe it was from, but where the Indians talked about and this was from many years back. This was way back, I think, when settlers first started coming into the Northwest, that they were told, or that the Indians said, that our people don't go out at night, and if they do, they're on the ridge tops only, never to go in the valleys, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense, because when you look at hunting patterns, that's where the game is at night. They come down, and they're up higher during the day because of the airflow. They want to stay above where they can smell predators coming. So you have to know the airflow.
Yep. Yeah. That'll change your life, and you won't like it.
And
you really won't. You're always, like, I used to be really comfortable in the woods. Like,
yeah.
I felt like nothing, it was my peaceful spot where I'd go. If I wanted, if something was bugging me, I could go in the woods and, walk around, just dink around.
I used to be the same way. Yeah, and you can't anymore. Once you know what's out there, you just can't do it.
Yeah. Once you see one, it scares you so bad to where, I don't know, like, even the biggest gun, you could carry a 50 cal, and that's still not enough.
Yeah, I think it makes you always kind of look over your shoulder. You can't really relax out there. You're always looking over your shoulder.
After you see how big they are, it scares you. It puts something inside you to where, I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah, no, I know exactly what you mean. And anybody else
listening,
listening,
people that think they want to see one, they don't.
Yeah, and anybody else listening that's had an encounter knows exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, it changes you.
All right, my friend. Well, listen, we're gonna have to wrap this up. I am planning on coming and seeing you this year. We're myself and a friend who's an MD wants to tag along. Good guy. So I'll be in touch with you, and we'll kind of get that figured out.
Okay. Well, I can 100% guarantee you I can show you some, or you'll see them.
Well, when that happens, we'll do a live recording from on location, and we'll talk about what we're seeing and doing.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
All right, Wynn. Well, listen, thanks, buddy. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Thanks, everyone, for joining me this week. Be sure to tune in again next week as we explore another account from a witness of the unknown.